Jake Morrison sat in the pilot's seat of his cargo ship, watching the stars drift by. He had been flying freight for 6 years now, and the work was boring, but it paid the bills. Today he was carrying medical supplies to a colony on the edge of human space. The route took him through a quiet sector where nothing ever happened. He yawned and reached for his coffee. The cup was cold. He had been in space for 2 days, and had 2 more to go. His ship was small, just big enough for cargo, and 1 person. It was old, and the paint was chipped, but the engines ran well. Jake had named it the Wanderer, because that was what he was, a wanderer with no home to go back to. The radio crackled with static. Jake ignored it, probably just interference from a nearby star. But then the static cleared, and he heard something. A voice, faint and desperate, speaking in a language he did not know. Then, it switched to common galactic speech. "This is Royal Transport Celestial Dawn. We are under attack. Shields failing. Request immediate assistance." Jake sat up straight. A royal transport? That meant someone important was on that ship. He checked his sensors and saw the signal was coming from about 20 minutes away. He should ignore it. Getting involved in other people's problems was a good way to get killed. But the voice came again. "Please, anyone. We have wounded. Our escort ships are destroyed. The pirates will return." Jake cursed under his breath. He changed course and pushed his engines to full speed. The Wanderer shook as it jumped to higher velocity. His hands moved over the controls, plotting the fastest route. As he got closer, his sensors showed the battle scene. Debris floated in space, the remains of military ships. In the center was a large transport, its hull scorched and broken. 3 smaller ships circled it like sharks. They had the markings of the Kresh Collective, a pirate gang that controlled several systems. Jake's mind raced. His ship had no weapons. He was just a cargo pilot. But he had speed. And he had a few tricks. He activated his communicator. "Pirate vessels. This is an independent transport. I'm picking up valuable cargo nearby. And I don't want trouble." One of the pirate ships turned toward him. A rough voice replied, "Move along, human. This is our prize." "Just checking," Jake said. He kept flying toward them, acting casual. The pirates ignored him, thinking he was just passing through. When he got close, Jake did something crazy. He fired his docking thrusters at full blast, sending a cloud of superheated gas toward the nearest pirate ship. The pirate vessel swerved away, surprised. At the same time, Jake activated his emergency beacon, making it look like dozens of ships were arriving. The pirates panicked. They were not warriors, just criminals who picked on weak targets. The thought of reinforcements scared them. 2 of the ships retreated immediately. The third fired a few shots at Jake, but missed. Then, it followed the others, disappearing into the darkness. Jake breathed hard. His heart was pounding. That had been incredibly stupid and incredibly lucky. He turned his ship toward the damaged transport and opened a channel. "This is cargo ship Wanderer. I'm here to help. Do you copy?" Silence. Then a voice, this time clear and feminine. "We copy, Wanderer. This is Princess Liara of the Valorian Empire. Our ship is dying. Can you dock with us?" A princess. Jake's day just kept getting more complicated. "I'll try," he said. The transport was badly damaged. Fires burned inside it, and the hull had multiple breaches. Jake carefully maneuvered his ship next to an intact airlock. His docking clamps connected with a metallic clang. He grabbed his emergency suit and sealed it, then opened the connecting door. The inside of the transport was a disaster. Bodies of crew members floated in the zero gravity, killed by the blast. Jake pushed past them. Following the life signs on his scanner, he found 4 people alive in the command center. 3 were guards in heavy armor, holding weapons. The 4th was a woman in elegant robes. She was tall and beautiful, with silver skin and large eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. She looked at Jake with surprise. The guards pointed their weapons at him, but she raised her hand. "He is the one who came," she said. Her voice was calm despite everything. "Lower your weapons." The guards obeyed but watched Jake carefully. He looked at the princess. "We need to move fast. Your ship could explode any moment. Can you walk?" "Yes," she said. "These are my protectors. They come with me." Jake nodded. "Follow me. Stay close." He led them through the damaged corridors. Twice they had to take different routes because of fires. One of the guards was injured and limped badly. They helped each other through the airlock and into Jake's ship. Just as the last guard entered, the transport shuddered. Jake sealed the airlock and ran to the pilot's seat. "Everyone hold on to something." He undocked and fired his engines. The Wanderer pulled away just as the transport exploded behind them. The blast wave hit them, shaking the ship violently. Alarms blared, but the Wanderer held together. Jake flew them away from the debris field as fast as the ship could go. After 10 minutes, when he was sure they were safe, he put the ship on autopilot and turned to look at his passengers. The princess sat in the co-pilot seat. Her guard stood behind her, still alert for danger. She was looking at him with an expression he could not read. "You saved our lives," she said. "I am Princess Liara, daughter of Emperor Theron. These are my guards, Captain Vorn, Lieutenant Haska, and Warrior Jeth." Jake nodded to them. "Jake Morrison, cargo pilot, and I didn't really have a choice." "You had a choice," Liara said. "You could have ignored our call. Most would have. Why did you help us?" Jake shrugged. Seemed like the right thing to do. She studied him for a moment, her glowing eyes curious. "You are human. I have met few of your kind. You do not bow or show deference to my title." "Should I?" Jake asked. One of the guards made an angry sound, but Liara smiled. "No, it is refreshing." Actually, Jake told them his plan. The nearest Valorian outpost was 3 days away. He had enough supplies for all of them, if they rationed carefully. The ship would be crowded, but they would make it. During those 3 days, something unexpected happened. Liara asked Jake many questions about his life, about humans, about Earth. She seemed genuinely interested in everything. Jake found himself talking more than he usually did. She was easy to talk to, despite being royalty. She told him about her world, about her duties as a princess, about the weight of expectation that came with her position. Jake listened and realized that in some ways, she was as trapped as he had been when he lost his family. On the 3rd day, they reached the outpost. Valorian military ships came to meet them. Dozens of them. They surrounded the Wanderer and escorted it to dock. Soldiers in gleaming armor poured into his ship, checking everything, making sure the princess was safe. Liara stood before Jake in his small cargo bay, now crowded with guards and officials. "I owe you my life, Jake Morrison. My father will want to reward you. Name what you desire." Jake shook his head. "I don't want anything. Just did what anyone should do." She looked at him with those strange, glowing eyes. "Not anyone would have. You are remarkable." She reached out and touched his hand briefly. "Thank you." Then she was gone, swept away by her people. Jake stood alone in his ship, surrounded by the chaos of the military operation. He felt tired and ready to get back to his simple life. He had no idea that his life would never be simple again. 2 weeks passed. Jake had delivered his medical supplies and picked up a new cargo job. He was at a busy trading station, refueling his ship and buying food supplies. The station was crowded with ships from a dozen different species. Jake liked places like this because nobody cared who you were or where you came from. He was loading boxes into his cargo bay when someone called his name. "Jake Morrison?" Jake turned around. 3 Valorians stood there, wearing formal robes with elaborate patterns. Their silver skin gleamed under the station lights. The one in front bowed slightly. I am Ambassador Kelrath. I bring a message from Emperor Theron himself. Jake felt a bad feeling in his stomach. What kind of message? The ambassador handed him a crystal tablet. Words appeared in the air above it, glowing softly. Jake read them twice, not believing what he was seeing. This is a joke, right? He said. The Emperor does not joke about matters of honor, Kelrath said. By ancient Valorian law, you saved Princess Liara from certain death. This creates a sacred bond. The Emperor has decreed that you shall be betrothed to the princess. You are to come to our homeworld immediately to begin preparations. Jake laughed. But it was not a happy laugh. Betrothed? You mean married? No. No way. I'm not interested in being part of any royal family. Tell the Emperor thanks, but I'm fine. The ambassador's expression hardened. You do not understand. This is not a request. The decree has been issued. To refuse would be a grave insult to the Emperor and our entire civilization. It would damage relations between your people and ours. That's not my problem, Jake said, turning back to his cargo. Actually, it is. A new voice spoke. Jake looked up to see a human man approaching. He wore a diplomatic uniform with Earth government insignia. Jake Morrison? I'm Kyle Harris, Human Diplomatic Corps. Can we talk privately? Quoted it. Jake did not want to talk, but he led Kyle into his ship. Once they were alone, Kyle's friendly expression became serious. Listen, I know this is crazy, Kyle said. But the Valorians are serious about their traditions. If you refuse this decree, it could cause a diplomatic crisis. Human-Valorian relations are already fragile. We need their support in the Galactic Council. So I'm supposed to marry someone I barely know because of politics? Jake said angrily. I'm asking you to at least go to their world and meet with them. Talk to the princess. Maybe you can work something out. But if you just refuse and walk away, it makes all humans look bad. Like we don't honor our debts. Jake wanted to refuse. He wanted to fly away and never look back. But he saw the worry in Kyle's eyes and knew the man was right. This was bigger than just him. Fine, Jake said. I'll go. But I'm not promising anything. The journey to the Valorian homeworld took 4 days. Jake traveled on a Valorian diplomatic ship, much larger and more comfortable than his own vessel. They treated him with respect but also distance, as if they did not know what to make of him. When they arrived, Jake stared out the window in amazement. The Valorian capital world was beautiful. Cities of white stone and crystal spread across green continents. 3 moons hung in the purple sky. Ships filled the space around the planet like schools of fish. They landed at the Imperial Palace, a massive structure that looked like it had grown from the ground rather than been built. Gardens surrounded it, filled with plants that glowed softly in the twilight. Jake felt very small and out of place. Inside, servants led him through endless corridors of polished stone. Everything was decorated with intricate carvings and floating lights. Finally, they brought him to a large room with a view of the gardens. These are your quarters, one servant said. Rest. You will meet with the Emperor tomorrow. Alone, Jake looked around. The room was bigger than his entire ship. A bed that could fit 5 people. Furniture carved from what looked like solid jewels. He sat on the edge of the bed and put his head in his hands. What had he gotten himself into? On the other side of the palace, Princess Liara stood in her own chambers, staring out at the same gardens. Her mentor and advisor, Lady Saren, sat nearby. You seem troubled, Saren said. My father announced the betrothal without telling me first, Liara said quietly. I understand tradition. I understand duty. But I had hoped to have some choice in who I would marry. Did you not find the human interesting during your journey? Saren asked. Liara turned from the window. He was kind, brave, different from anyone I have met. But that does not mean I am ready to spend my life with him. And he certainly does not seem happy about this. The Emperor believes this alliance will strengthen our ties with humanity, Saren said. Your marriage would be a symbol. I know, Liara said tiredly. I am always a symbol. The next day, Jake was brought to the throne room. The space was enormous, with a ceiling so high he could barely see it. Hundreds of courtiers in elaborate clothing stood along the walls, watching him. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat Emperor Theron. The emperor was tall and imposing, with silver skin darker than his daughter's. He wore armor that seemed to be made of flowing metal. His eyes were sharp and intelligent. Jake walked forward, very aware that everyone was staring at him. He wore his regular clothes, just simple pants and a jacket. He had nothing fancier, and would not have worn it if he did. He stopped before the throne. The courtiers waited for him to bow. Jake just stood there. A murmur went through the crowd. Emperor Theron leaned forward slightly, studying Jake. "So, you are the human who saved my daughter. You do not bow." "I mean no disrespect," Jake said, "but I'm not one of your subjects. I'm just a cargo pilot who happened to be in the right place. Or the wrong place, depending on your view," the emperor said. There was humor in his voice. "You know why you are here? Your law says I have to marry your daughter because I saved her life," Jake said. "I think that's a strange law." Another murmur from the courtiers, louder this time, but the emperor just nodded. "Our traditions are ancient. They have held our empire together for thousands of years. When you saved Liara, you became part of our story. To refuse the honor of joining our family would suggest her life was not worth saving. That's not what it would mean," Jake said. "It would just mean I helped someone without expecting anything in return." "An admirable sentiment," the emperor said, "but not how our people see it. Tell me, Jake Morrison, what do you know of my daughter?" "Not much," Jake admitted. "She seemed smart, kind, stronger than she looked." "She is all those things," the emperor said. "She is also duty-bound, as I am. She will accept this betrothal because it is expected of her. I ask that you give her the same respect. Give this a chance. Learn our ways. Get to know her. If after 6 months you both truly wish to end the engagement, I will find a way that honors all parties." Jake was surprised. He had expected demands, not compromise. 6 months? Time enough to understand what you would be refusing, the emperor said. "Do we have an agreement?" Jake thought about it. 6 months. He could do 6 months. And if it meant avoiding a diplomatic disaster, maybe it was worth it. "Agreed," he said. "Good." The emperor stood. "Then, let us make the formal introduction. My daughter waits in the garden." They walked through the palace. Just Jake, the emperor, and a few guards. In a quiet corner of the gardens, surrounded by glowing flowers, Liara stood waiting. She wore a simple dress, not the elaborate robes from before. When she saw Jake, her expression was a mix of emotions he could not read. "Liara, you remember Jake Morrison," the emperor said. "I do," she said softly. She looked at Jake, then at her father. "Father, may I speak with Jake alone?" The emperor nodded and walked away with the guards. Jake and Liara stood awkwardly facing each other. "I did not know he would do this," Liara said. "I want you to know that. I had no part in the decree." "I figured," Jake said. "You don't seem any happier about it than I am." "I am not unhappy," she said carefully. "I am uncertain. This affects both our lives in ways we cannot predict." "Your father gave me a deal," Jake said. 6 months to see if this could work. After that, we can end it if we want." Liara nodded slowly. "That is fair. More than I expected. He must respect you to offer that." "Maybe he just knows I'm stubborn," Jake said, and was rewarded with a small smile from her. "Perhaps we can be friends at least," Liara said. "If we must spend time together, let it not be as enemies." Jake extended his hand. After a moment, she took it. Her skin was warm and soft. "Friends," he agreed. Neither of them knew if this would work, but they had time to find out. Jake's first week at the palace was a disaster. Everything he did seemed to be wrong. The Valorians had rules for everything: how to greet people, how to sit, how to eat, even how to walk in certain areas of the palace. His tutors were patient but clearly frustrated. Master Vorin, an elderly Valorian scholar, tried to teach him the formal language. No, no, Vorin said for the 100th time. The tone rises at the end when addressing nobility. Like this. He demonstrated, making a sound that Jake's human throat could barely reproduce. Jake tried again. It sounded terrible. Vorin sighed deeply. Another tutor, Lady Marin, taught him about Valorian customs and history. There were so many rules. Colors meant different things depending on the season. Certain gestures were polite in one context but insulting in another. Jake's head spun, trying to remember it all. At dinner his first night, he used the wrong utensil, and every Valorian at the table stared at him. He grabbed his drink with his left hand, which, apparently, was improper. When he stood up, he forgot to wait for the senior noble to stand first. The other guests whispered to each other. Judging him, Jake went back to his room, feeling exhausted and angry. This was impossible. He was not made for this world. A knock came at his door. Kyle Harris entered, carrying 2 bottles. "Thought you might need this," he said, handing Jake a bottle of actual Earth beer. "Got it from the human embassy. Don't tell anyone." They sat on the balcony, looking out at the alien sky. "How bad was it?" Kyle asked. "I've survived pirate attacks that were less stressful," Jake said. He took a long drink. "I don't belong here, Kyle. These people think I'm a joke. Some do," Kyle admitted. "But not all. The Emperor would not have made this offer if he did not see something in you. And the princess." He paused. "I've heard she defended you to some of the court nobles today." "She did?" "One of them made a comment about humans being uncivilized. She reminded them that you saved her life while their warriors died. That shut them up. Quick." Jake did not know what to think about that. He barely knew Liara. They had only spoken a few times since that conversation in the garden. The next day, Jake made another mistake. He was walking through the palace gardens when he saw Liara sitting alone on a bench. She looked sad. Without thinking, he walked over and sat down next to her. Immediately, guards appeared from nowhere, weapons ready. "Step away from the princess," one shouted. Jake jumped up, hands raised. "I'm sorry. I didn't know I couldn't sit there." "Wait," Liara said, standing. She spoke to the guards in rapid Valorian. They looked uncertain but backed away. Though they kept watching Jake, Liara turned to him. "You cannot approach me without permission when we are in public. It is protocol." "Right. Another rule I didn't know," Jake said, frustrated. "Walk with me," Liara said. It was not quite a command, but not quite a request either. They walked through the gardens, guards following at a distance. "You are struggling," Liara said. It was a statement, not a question. "You noticed?" "Everyone has noticed," she said, but her tone was not unkind. "You are trying to become something you are not. That will never work." "Your father wants me to learn your ways," Jake said. "He wants you to understand them," Liara corrected. "There is a difference. You are human. You should not pretend otherwise." She stopped walking and looked at him. "Tell me, why did you really come here? You could have refused and left." Jake thought about it. "Because people told me it would hurt others if I didn't. And I guess I'm curious about you. About this place. Even if it's driving me crazy." For the first time, he saw her truly smile. "At least you are honest. Come. Let me show you something." She led him to a part of the gardens he had not seen before. Hidden behind tall hedges was a small house made of wood and glass. Inside were strange tools and equipment. Plants grew in containers, some of them definitely not Valorian. "This is my workshop," Liara said. I study biology from other worlds. It is my passion, though few in the court know about it. They think a princess should only concern herself with politics and ceremony. Jake looked around in surprise. You're a scientist? I try to be, she said. My tutor, Lady Saren, encouraged it when I was young. She said a mind needs more than duty to survive. Liara touched one of the plants gently. Here, I am not a princess. I am just someone trying to understand the universe. I get that, Jake said. On my ship, I'm just a pilot. No expectations, no rules, except the ones that keep me alive. They talked for over an hour. Jake told her about the worlds he had visited, the strange things he had seen while hauling cargo. Liara asked questions and actually listened to his answers. She told him about her research, about the mysteries of how different species evolved in different ways. It was the first real conversation they had. When Jake left, he felt different. Liara was not just a princess or a duty. She was a person, and an interesting one. Kyle became Jake's guide to navigating palace life. He showed Jake the shortcuts, the unwritten rules, the ways to avoid the worst of the protocol. Just be yourself, Kyle advised. But maybe a slightly more careful version of yourself. Jake also met Commander Vex, the head of the Royal Guard. Vex was a large Valorian, scarred from many battles. He did not like Jake at all, and made no effort to hide it. You are a security risk, Vex said bluntly during one encounter. An outsider who knows nothing of our ways, close to the royal family. I do not trust you. Fair enough, Jake said. I don't trust easily either. But I'm not here to hurt anyone. We shall see, Vex said, and walked away. Despite Vex's suspicion, Jake slowly began to find his place. He stopped trying to be like the Valorians, and just focused on being respectful while staying himself. When he made mistakes, he apologized and moved on. Some courtiers still looked down on him, but others started to show him a grudging respect. He and Liara spent more time together, always with guards nearby and always proper. They walked in the gardens. She showed him her laboratory and explained her work. He told her stories about life on the frontier of human space. They were from different worlds in every way, but they found common ground. One day, about 2 months into his stay, Jake was invited to a formal court gathering. He wore the Valorian clothing his tutors had given him, though it felt strange. Nobles from across the empire were there, dressed in their finest. Jake stood near the edge of the room, trying to be invisible. That's when he heard it. A noble was speaking to a group, his voice just loud enough for Jake to hear. The betrothal is a disgrace. To bind our princess to a human, a cargo hauler, someone who does not even know how to conduct himself properly. The emperor has made a mistake. Others in the group murmured agreement. The noble, whose name Jake learned was Lord Vectis, continued. She should marry one of our own, someone worthy of her status. This human is beneath her in every way. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. He had heard whispers before, but never something so direct. He started to walk away, to avoid confrontation. But then he saw Liara across the room. She had heard it too. Her face showed hurt quickly hidden behind her royal mask. That made Jake's decision for him. He walked directly up to Lord Vectis's group. The nobles stopped talking and stared at him. Lord Vectis, Jake said, using the formal tone his tutor had taught him. I could not help but overhear your comments about the betrothal. Vectis looked at him with contempt. Then you heard the truth. You do not belong here, human. Maybe not, Jake said. You're right that I'm a cargo hauler. I grew up with nothing and built my life from that. I don't have a fancy title or noble blood, but I saved Princess Liara's life when your warriors could not. I came here because I was asked, and I'm trying to do this right. If that's not good enough for you, I don't really care. But show some respect to her. Because she deserves better than your insults. The room had gone silent. Everyone was watching. Vectis's face darkened with anger. You dare speak to me this way? Yeah. I do, Jake said. Where I come from, honor is about what you do, not who your parents were. The princess is more honorable in one day than you'll be in your entire life. For a moment, Jake thought Vectis might actually attack him. But then, a voice spoke from across the room. Well said, Jake Morrison. It was Lady Saren, Liara's mentor. She walked over, her expression calm. Lord Vectis, perhaps you should remember that the Emperor himself issued this decree. To insult it is to insult his judgment. Vectis bowed stiffly and walked away, taking his group with him. The other nobles slowly returned to their conversations. Lady Saren looked at Jake with something like approval. That was brave, if perhaps unwise. You have made an enemy. Lady Saren, Lady Saren, Lady Saren, Lady Saren, looked at Jake. Lady Saren, not my first one, Jake said. Later that night, Liara came to his quarters, accompanied by 2 guards who waited outside. It was highly improper, but she did not seem to care. Thank you, she said simply, for defending me. He was out of line, Jake said. Many think as he does. They just do not say it out loud. She looked at him carefully. But you did not defend me to win favor or to follow protocol. You did it because you believed it was right. Yeah, Jake said. I guess I did. Liara smiled. A real, genuine smile. Perhaps this betrothal is not as impossible as we both thought. 3 months had passed since Jake arrived at the palace. He and Liara had grown closer, spending time together whenever her duties allowed. They were not quite in love, but something real was developing between them. Jake found himself thinking about her when they were apart. Her laugh, the way she explained her scientific work with such passion, how she saw the good in people, even when they disappointed her. But not everyone was happy about their growing connection. In the shadows of the palace, dangerous plans were being made. Duke Craven was one of the most powerful nobles in the empire. He was wealthy, ambitious, and hungry for more power. He had always believed that his son should marry Liara, uniting their families and bringing him closer to the throne. The betrothal to the human had destroyed that plan. In his private chambers, Craven met with representatives from the Kresh Collective, the same pirate organization that had attacked Liara's transport months ago. They came in secret, wearing disguises. The human has become too comfortable, Craven said. The Emperor shows him favor. Some in the court even defend him now. We must act before the wedding happens. What do you propose? One of the Kresh asked. His name was Zarn, a brutal leader who cared only for profit. Create chaos, Craven said. Make the palace unsafe. Show that the Emperor cannot even protect his own daughter. When the people lose faith in him, they will turn to someone stronger. He meant himself, of course. And what of the human? Zarn asked. If he dies in the chaos, that would solve many problems, Craven said coldly. Zarn smiled. We have someone inside the palace already. She has been waiting for years for a mission like this. She will be your weapon. That person was Zara, a Kresh operative who had posed as a low-level palace servant for 3 years. She was patient, skilled, and deadly. She began her work immediately. Strange things started happening. Small at first. A guard's weapon malfunctioned during a ceremony. Food intended for the royal family was found to be spoiled. Doors that should have been locked were found open. Commander Vex increased security, but the incidents continued. One night, a fire broke out in the guest wing, where some visiting nobles were staying. No one died, but the message was clear. The palace was not safe. Jake noticed things others did not. Years of flying through dangerous space had taught him to watch for patterns, to trust his instincts. He saw servants in the wrong places, at the wrong times. He noticed how some of the incidents seemed too convenient, too planned. He shared his concerns with Kyle. Something's wrong here. These aren't accidents. Kyle nodded grimly. I've been thinking the same thing, but Vex won't listen to me. He thinks I'm just nervous because I'm human. What about Liara? Is she safe? They've doubled her guard. But if there's someone inside the palace working against us, more guards might not be enough. There's Wah. And where guards might not be enough. And where guards might not be enough. Jake made a decision. He started his own investigation. Late at night, when most of the palace slept, he walked the corridors. He watched people. He listened. His outsider status actually helped. Servants and guards did not pay much attention to him, thinking he was just the strange human wandering around. One night, he saw something. A servant he recognized, a young female Valorian named Zara, entering a restricted area near the communication center. Jake followed at a distance. Through a window, he saw her accessing a computer terminal, sending a coded message. Jake memorized her face and reported what he saw to Kyle. They started watching Zara. They discovered she had connections to several of the recent incidents, but they needed proof before they could act. Meanwhile, preparations were being made for a grand ceremony. In 1 month, the betrothal would be formally announced to the entire empire. Millions would watch. It would be a statement that the alliance between humans and Valorians was real and strong. It would also be the perfect target for an attack. Jake and Liara spent an evening together in her workshop, away from the formality of the court. They had become comfortable with each other. The awkwardness gone. They could talk about anything now. Are you nervous? Liara asked. About the ceremony? A little, Jake admitted. All those people watching. All those expectations. I have lived with expectations my whole life, Liara said. But this is different. Usually I am alone in my duty. Now I have someone beside me. She looked at him directly. I am glad it is you. Jake. Jake felt something shift in his chest. I'm glad too, he said quietly. She moved closer to him. I think I am falling in love with you. If it is, then I'm a fool too, Jake said. They kissed for the first time then, gentle and tentative. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. That happiness made what happened next even worse. The night before the ceremony, Jake was in his quarters when Kyle burst in. We have a problem. Zara disappeared. She's gone dark, and Vex thinks she might try something tomorrow. At the ceremony? Jake asked, already moving. Protected. They've locked down her chambers. But Jake, if they're planning something big, tomorrow would be the time. Jake thought fast. What kind of security does the ceremonial hall have? Everything. Scanners, guards, the whole system. Unless someone already put it there, Jake said. Before the security lockdown. Kyle. What if the bomb or whatever they're planning is already in place? Kyle's eyes widened. We need to search that hall. They went to Commander Vex with their theory. Vex was skeptical, but agreed to a sweep. Teams of guards went through the ceremonial hall with scanning equipment. They found nothing. Your fears are unfounded, Vex told them. The hall is secure, but Jake still felt uneasy. His instincts screamed that something was wrong. He spent the night thinking, trying to figure out what they were missing. The morning of the ceremony arrived. The palace was filled with activity. Thousands of guests were arriving. The ceremonial hall was beautiful, decorated with flowers and lights. The throne where the emperor would sit was placed on a raised platform. Below it was where Jake and Liara would stand to receive the formal blessing. Jake dressed in formal Valorian robes, much fancier than anything he had worn before. He looked at himself in the mirror and barely recognized the person looking back. Kyle helped adjust his collar. Ready? Kyle asked. No, Jake said honestly. But let's do this anyway. The ceremony began. Music filled the hall. Guests took their seats. Hundreds of noble families and representatives from dozens of worlds. Human diplomats sat in a place of honor, including officials from Earth itself. Emperor Theron entered, majestic in his ceremonial armor. Liara walked beside him, wearing a dress that shimmered like starlight. She looked beautiful and composed, every bit the princess. Her eyes found Jake's, and she gave him a small, private smile. Jake took his place beside her at the base of the platform. The Emperor began speaking in formal Valorian, his voice carrying through the hall. He spoke of honor, of duty, of the bonds between worlds. He spoke of Jake's bravery and his daughter's wisdom. Jake only half listened. Something bothered him. His eyes scanned the hall, looking for anything out of place. That's when he saw her. Zara, dressed as a noble's servant, standing near one of the columns. She was watching the Emperor's platform intently. Jake's blood ran cold. He looked where she was looking, and suddenly understood. Not the platform itself. Behind it, the ceremonial throne. Years ago, Liara had told him the throne was ancient, passed down through generations. It was sacred. No one would think to scan it. It would be the perfect hiding place for a bomb. The Emperor was speaking, his words building to the moment of formal announcement. In seconds, he would sit on that throne. And if Jake was right, they would all die. Jake did not think. He just moved. He grabbed Liara and pulled her away from the platform. She gasped in surprise. Guards reacted immediately, moving to stop him. But Jake was already running, pulling Liara with him toward the exit. "Jake, what are you doing?" she cried. "Run!" he shouted. "Everyone run!" The hall erupted in chaos. Some people ran for the exits. Others stood frozen, not understanding. Commander Vex shouted orders. Guards surrounded the Emperor. Jake saw Zara running, trying to escape in the confusion. He let go of Liara and tackled Zara to the ground. She fought him viciously, but he held on. Kyle appeared and helped restrain her. "The throne!" Jake shouted to Vex. "Check the throne." Vex's expression changed. He ordered his best technician to the platform. The Valorian carefully scanned the throne. His face went pale. Explosive device. Sophisticated. Emergency teams worked frantically. They carefully removed the bomb and deactivated it. The hall was evacuated. It took 30 minutes before the all-clear was given. Jake sat outside, his hands shaking from adrenaline. Liara ran to him and threw her arms around him. "You saved us. You saved everyone." "I just noticed something was wrong," Jake said, but his voice shook. He had been seconds away from losing her. From losing everything. The Emperor approached. He looked at Jake for a long moment, then bowed. It was a slight bow. But from an emperor, it meant everything. "Twice now, you have saved my daughter. And today, you saved me and countless others. I owe you a debt I can never repay." "Just find out who was behind this," Jake said. They did. Under interrogation, Zara revealed everything. Duke Craven's involvement. The Kresh Collective's role. The whole conspiracy. Within hours, Craven was arrested, his holdings seized. The Kresh operatives in the palace were captured. That night, Jake lay in the medical wing, being treated for cuts and bruises from the fight with Zara. Liara sat beside his bed, holding his hand. "I thought I was going to lose you," she said softly. "Not that easy to get rid of me," Jake tried to joke, but his voice cracked. She leaned down and kissed him. "I love you, Jake Morrison. Not because of duty or decree, because of who you are." "I love you too," Jake said, and meant it completely. Outside, the moons rose over the palace. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, they were alive. Together. And that was enough. The morning after the attempted attack, the palace was quiet. The celebration had been postponed. Security teams searched every corner, making sure no other threats remained. Jake's body ached from the fight. But he could not rest. Too much had happened. Too much had changed. Emperor Theron summoned him to a private audience. No guards, no advisors. Just the two of them, in the Emperor's personal study. A room Jake had never seen before. It was smaller than he expected, filled with books and star charts. More like a scholar's workspace than a throne room. "Sit, please," the Emperor said, gesturing to a chair. "We should talk honestly. As two men, not as Emperor and subject." Jake sat, unsure what to expect. The Emperor poured 2 glasses of pale blue liquid from a crystal bottle. "This is very old wine from my family's estate. I think we have earned it." "Well, one." They drank in silence for a moment. The wine was sweet and strong. Finally, the Emperor spoke. "I owe you an apology, Jake Morrison." Jake looked up in surprise. Emperors did not apologize. "When I issued the betrothal decree, I told myself it was about honor and tradition," Theron continued. "And those things were true. But I also saw a political advantage. An alliance with humanity through marriage to a hero who saved my daughter. It would strengthen my position and improve relations between our peoples." He looked tired suddenly, older. "I did not think enough about what it would mean for you, or for Liara. You were doing what you thought was right for your empire," Jake said. "Perhaps. But empires are made of people. And people deserve more than to be pieces in political games." The Emperor refilled their glasses. "You have proven yourself in every way. You saved my daughter twice. You exposed a conspiracy that threatened my throne. You won over a court that despised you at first. You did all of this while staying true to yourself." He paused. "That last part impressed me most. Many would have tried to become Valorian. You remained human, and that made you stronger." "I didn't really have a choice," Jake said. "I'm not good at pretending to be something I'm not. That is wisdom many spend lifetimes learning." The Emperor set down his glass. "I am releasing you from the betrothal decree. Left in time. The Plensiver. I am releasing you from the betrothal decree. I am releasing you from the betrothal decree. I am releasing you from the betrothal decree. I am releasing you from the betrothal decree." Jake's heart jumped. "What?" "The 6 months is not over, but I have seen enough. You fulfilled your part of our agreement. You gave this an honest try. If you wish to leave, to return to your life as a pilot, you may do so with my blessing and gratitude. No one will think less of you. I will make sure of it." Jake sat back, processing this. He could leave. Go back to his ship, to the freedom of space, to the simple life he knew. No more rules. No more politics. No more pressure. But that also meant leaving Liara. "Can I think about it?" Jake asked. "Of course. Take all the time you need." Jake found Kyle later that day. They walked in the gardens, talking quietly. "So, he's letting you go," Kyle said. "That's good, right? That's what you wanted when you first got here." "I thought it was," Jake said. "Now I'm not sure what I want." "Because of her," Kyle said. "It was not a question. I love her, Kyle." Somewhere along the way, this stopped being about duty or politics. It became real. Jake kicked at a stone on the path. "But is that enough? Can I really be what she needs? What this empire needs?" "Wrong question," Kyle said. "The question is, can you be happy without her? Because everything else, you'll figure out together." That night, Jake went to Liara's workshop. She was there, working on her plants like she always did when she needed to think. She looked up when he entered, her expression uncertain. "Your father told you," Jake said. She nodded. "He said you are free to choose your own path. That the betrothal is ended if you wish it." "And what do you wish?" Jake asked. Liara set down her tools. "I wish that I could be selfish. I wish I could tell you to stay without thinking about what it would cost you. But I cannot. She walked over to him. Jake, I love you. These past months have been the happiest of my life. But I am a princess. My life will never be simple. There will always be duties, ceremonies, politics, people watching every move we make. Is that really what you want? No, Jake said honestly. It sounds terrible. Her face fell. Then you should go. I will not hold you here, with guilt or love. I'm not finished, Jake said. He took her hands. It sounds terrible, but it's worth it if you're there. I don't want the palace or the title or any of that. I just want you. If that means dealing with all the rest, I'll learn to live with it. You cannot be sure, Liara said, but hope colored her voice. You might come to resent it. Resent me. I've been thinking about that, Jake said. Back when I was flying cargo, I was free. No responsibilities, except to myself. And I was lonely. Liara, I didn't even realize how lonely until I met you. Freedom without someone to share it with is just another kind of cage. Tears formed in her eyes. You want to stay? I want to be with you, Jake said. Where we are, how we do it, we can figure that out together. But I'm not running away. Not from you. She kissed him then, deeply, and without restraint. When they broke apart, both were smiling through tears. We should tell my father, Liara said. Together, they went to the Emperor, hand in hand. He looked at them and smiled before they even spoke. I see you have made your choice. We both have, Jake said. I want to marry Liara, not because of a decree or duty, because I love her and I want to spend my life with her. If you'll still have me, and I choose him, Liara said firmly. Not because I must, but because I want to. I want a marriage built on love, not obligation. The Emperor stood and embraced them both. Then you shall have exactly that. The betrothal will become a true engagement. The wedding will not be about politics or alliances. It will be about two people who found each other against all odds. He pulled back, looking at them seriously. But I must warn you both. This will not be easy. There will be those who still oppose this union. There will be challenges you cannot imagine. We'll face them together, Jake said, and Liara squeezed his hand in agreement. The new ceremony was planned for 2 months later. This time, it was different. Not a political statement, but a celebration. Human traditions were blended with Valorian ones. Jake's few friends from his piloting days came, rough spacers who looked completely out of place in the palace, but whom Jake was proud to have there. The ceremony itself was beautiful. Jake wore a combination of human formal wear and Valorian design. Liara's dress incorporated both cultures as well. The ceremony ended. They wrote their own vows, speaking from the heart rather than following ancient scripts. I promise to be honest with you, Jake said, to respect your world while staying true to my own, to stand beside you in whatever comes, and to never stop trying to understand these Valorian table manners, even though I'm pretty sure I never will. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Even Emperor Theron smiled. Liara's voice was clear and strong. I promise to value your perspective, especially when it differs from my own. To support your independence while building our partnership. To never stop exploring the universe with you, whether in space or in our garden laboratory. She paused, her eyes shining. And to always remember that the greatest discovery of my life was you. They kissed as the crowd erupted in applause. Valorians and humans cheered together. A sound that would have seemed impossible months ago. The celebration lasted for days. Delegates from across the galaxy came to witness this union. It became a symbol of something larger than just two people. A sign that different worlds, different species, different cultures could come together. On the third night, Jake and Liara escaped the festivities for a while. They stood on a high balcony. looking out at the city below and the stars above. Ships moved through the sky like glowing insects, carrying people to and from the planet. "Do you miss it?" Liara asked. "Being free? Sometimes," Jake admitted. "But I've been thinking about that. I don't have to give it up completely." "What do you mean?" "Your father and I talked. He's creating a new position, Ambassador at Large for Human Relations. Basically, I'll travel to different systems, help resolve problems, build connections between our peoples. I'll have a ship again, though probably a nicer one than my old cargo hauler. And wherever possible," he smiled at her, "you'll come with me. You can study alien biology firsthand. We can do our work together." Liara's eyes widened. "Truly?" Father agreed to this. He said the Empire needs to change. Adapt. That's hard for a culture as old as yours. But having someone who understands both worlds, who can build bridges, that's valuable. And having a princess who's not just a figurehead but someone who actively contributes, that's even better. "I would love that," Liara said softly. "To see other worlds with you, to work together." She leaned against him. "I was worried you would feel trapped here." "I probably would have, if this was traditional palace life forever," Jake said. "But this way, we get the best of both worlds. We have responsibilities, yes, but we also have freedom." Together, they stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. In the city below, both Valorian and human music played, a blend that should not have worked but somehow did. "Jake," Liara said eventually, "what made you answer that distress call? All those months ago. You could have ignored it." Jake thought about it. "Honestly, I don't know. Instinct. Maybe. Or maybe some part of me knew my life was too small, that I needed something more, even if I couldn't admit it." "Fate," Liara suggested. "Maybe," Jake said. "Or just luck. Either way, I'm glad I answered." "So am I." A shooting star crossed the sky above them. In that moment, everything felt right. The human cargo pilot and the Valorian princess, from worlds so different they should have had nothing in common. But they had found each other. They had chosen each other, and that choice had changed everything. Years later, people across the galaxy would tell the story. The human who rescued the princess and became a bridge between worlds. The princess who chose love over duty and helped reshape her empire. It became legend. The kind of tale told to children to show them that the universe was bigger and more wonderful than they could imagine. But for Jake and Liara, it was just their life. Complicated and challenging and beautiful. They traveled the stars together. They faced dangers and solved problems. They had disagreements and made mistakes, but they never stopped choosing each other, day after day. That, in the end, was what mattered. Not the grand gestures, or the ceremonies, or the political implications. Just two people, from different worlds, who found a way to build something new together. On the balcony that night, with the stars shining above them, they did not know all the adventures that awaited. They did not know the challenges they would face, or the changes they would help create. But they knew they would face them together, and that was enough.